You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Richard. There you go. That's how you open up. That's how you make an introduction. So Richard, please enlighten these wonderful people out here about what you do professionally and who you are, just so we can get a background.
All right, sure. Well, professionally, I work for a company that rents and does leases and sells office equipment, specifically copiers. I mainly just do a lot of inventory, deliveries, paperwork, you name it. So I'm pretty much the guy that does everything. As far as I guess based on listening to your first episode, what I wanted to pursue as far as like what I wanted to do in life, there were many things that I wanted to do in life. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a voice actor. I wanted to be a musician. And then when all of those kind of didn't work out the way how I thought I wanted it to work out, that's when I decided, okay, you know what? I think I'm just gonna my main goal is to not be fucking homeless. So that's the only thing that that my goal is as far as right now.
Well,
So.
for most people, I think fame is a popular concept. I think everybody wants to be wanted. It's the whole reason why I wanted to be an actor at first, too. I found a fascination with just hearing people watch something that you're involved in and creating something you're involved in. I think we all have this deep-seated need for acceptance when it comes to the concept of whenever we put up a Facebook post complaining about our problems, we love that like button. It's like a hug from mom.
Yeah, that is true. That's why I stopped really using Facebook as far as like for personal, when it comes to my actual personal pages. Like I stopped using Facebook and Twitter and all of that when it comes to like, me personally. So the only time I've ever
the realm of freaking turning into everybody just bitching about their problems, and then it went from everybody bitching about their problems to turning into memes about depression that everyone can relate to.
Yeah. Main reason though why I decided to stop using Facebook is for me personally. It was a way for me because ever since I moved out of my parents' home like years ago when I was like 20 or something like that, it's just another way for parents to be able to spy on their kids. So, I stopped using that because I didn't want my parents to know what I was doing. I'd rather just, be like, oh, hey, mom and dad. Oh, what have you been doing up to, son? I'm like, oh, just kicking it instead of being
smoking crack and getting pills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say that, and I think it's because my humor. I think my parents understand that I'm joking because most parents be like, "Are you really?" I'm like, "No." Like they know me. Like they're like, "What are you doing?"
They know not to take you seriously. Yeah, my parents are exactly the same way. Yeah.
It's good because if I ever want to be honest and that's what I actually did, I can just come out and say it, and they would take it as a joke. What'd you do? Well, I was chilling doing cocaine off lines and lines of pianos and
off of strippers' tits, and it was great. Like, yeah, that's great, son. Yeah, whatever.
Straight balling Jordan Belfort style, selling penny stocks and making billions. Well, where's all that money at? I went to the casino and I lost it all. It tricked me.
Oh, yes.
It's funny because I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about your podcast. So you do a podcast called Rad Movies.
Yes.
How did you decide to talk about movies that were bad but entertaining? Because honestly, but when it comes to reviews, nobody writes a good review, sadly. All about bad reviews, shitting on something.
Yes. Well, initially the way how I got around to talking about bad movies specifically, or at least trying to find a bad movie that's entertaining, came about when I first watched this film directed by an Armenian director named Amir Shivan. It's called Samurai Cop, which is basically just a 90s ripoff of the movie Lethal Weapon. After I saw this film, it was like the most entertaining, unintentionally funny movie that I've ever seen. And that seems to be a pattern with some of these directors back in the day that wanted to seriously make a great like action film or whatever the case it was, but it ends up being like something completely different, and it becomes an unintentional comedy. So I decided, after watching that film, that's like my top favorite film of all time when it comes to like an entertaining movie itself, I figured, are there any other movies like this? And then basically the podcast just came about where I'm like kind of like in a quest to find like something that is just like that movie that I found, which unfortunately with a lot of my episodes, uh there's only been like maybe like 6, 7, 8 movies maybe that have had that similar sort of reaction that I've had, but I'm still trying to find that diamond or gold in that big pile of shit that I'm trying to find. So
We all
that's the
looking for the
thing.
diamond in the rough. I think a lot of
Yeah.
movies that do get a lot of shit seem to be older style movies. Only on the
Right.
concept of the technology for what at least we're used to. It seems like if it didn't have a lot of explosions, if billions of dollars weren't spent into making it something that's going to keep your mindless attention for 5 seconds, it wasn't considered a good flick. And I can tell you, some of the best flicks are the ones like the old Godzilla movies where you're seeing these
Right.
people in costumes crushing these small skull. Like those are the best ones in my opinion, because you get
Yeah, it's
see all
great.
the crazy, like just stupid stuff that happens. And then you get to see movies like Ace Ventura, for example, with
Hmm.
Jim Carrey, a
Yes.
guy that goes out of his way to perform a role, even though there might not be a whole lot of funding when it came to the basis of the movie.
Right.
It's sadly nowadays, it seems like everything's being recreated and money's just been shoved at it so much to the point where it loses the real, I guess, feeling or just the general takeaway from the actual movie.
Right. I mean, I understand why studios are kind of doing what they're doing as far as doing like reboots and like remakes and such, because they want to fucking play it safe, because especially with the economy that's going on, it's like there's only been like a handful of movies that have original ideas, which honestly, like one, not, I don't want to say recent movie, but like the newish sort of movie that I really enjoyed was a movie called Hereditary. And but before that, like I've just been mainly just watching just these or at least trying to find these bad but entertaining films, because they're more entertaining to me. Because like with a lot of movies, whether if they're like even though I do like some Marvel movies, but majority of them seem to be the same thing, where they have like the basic plot of like, oh, I'm some normal person, but then something happens to me, and then I become this super person, and then I have this villain where like I have to fight this villain, and after training and fighting this villain, because I'm a hero, I beat this villain. So it's like a lot of these, whether if it's like a Marvel movie or a horror movie or whatever it is, like I've seen a lot of movies, because my parents, when I was growing up as a kid in South Korea, like they instead of getting a babysitter, they put me in front of a television where they got me to watch films, because I would just sit there and just watch these films and like not pay attention to any of my surroundings around me. And so because of that, like a lot of movies that new movies nowadays, they're so predictable. But like I said, with the Samurai Cop movie, even though technically it was a ripoff of like the Lethal Weapon movie, there were so many things in there that really subverted my expectations. Like I was thinking, oh, okay, this is just going to be like some fucking action movie that has this. But then all these unintentional comedic things happened that just made me laugh my ass off. And that's why I decided to like pursue more of these movies, because with these movies, like you never really know what to expect,
Yeah, a
So
Tarantino flick, man. Let me tell
yeah.
you something. You hear about in Django when he slams his hand on that glass table and you get to watch him literally crush a wine glass with his hand and then the blood pop up.
And
I
he
found
actually cut his fucking hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found that out after I saw that movie, and it made me go back and look at that and you realize that they used his actual reaction. If popular movies back in the day where they actually did stuff, like there were a bunch of like movies in The Godfather where the dude would point a gun and the guy would not react like if someone was pointing a gun to you. You could tell it was fake. One of the actors grabbed an actual gun and fired it off at him, not like pointed at him, but fired it off near him. The dude freaked out. He goes, "You see what you just felt there? Do that when we're rolling." Next thing you know, they start rolling, and he knew exactly what to do. The Longest Yard, the original one with Burt Reynolds, when you see him hit that girl in the face, that was him actually hitting her. That was her actual reaction. That was her like, what the hell just happened? That's when we say, like, it's crazy where back in the day, it seemed like they had to try a hell of a lot harder without using CGI and all these things that we have today, man. That's why I say older movies, they're sometimes better than the newer trash we get shown today.
Yeah, especially because, with a lot of like method actors, whether if it's Leonardo DiCaprio or like Christian Bale as an example, like I do enjoy and appreciate a lot of the things that a lot of these actors do, because they try to really put those sort of situations but make it as realistic as possible. Like that's why I enjoy watching a lot of older films, because they don't use, I mean, there's only like maybe like a handful of movies that use, CGI where it looks good enough. Like, Mad Max, was it Fury Road or whatever the fuck it was? Like they used some CGI stuff, but they didn't use too much of it where it was like super noticeable.
The sad thing is, it's easy to.
But like whether if it's like John Carpenter's The Thing. Oh, go ahead.
Well, the sad thing is, when it comes to a movie, it's so much easier just to throw like a bunch of money at it and cover it up with so much technical things where you start to lose the aspect. I think what makes a movie so awesome is the fact that there is money behind it, but they don't lose the aspect of what it means to have everybody working together to truly create something inspirational. Like when a bunch of actors go out of their way to perform a role, it seems like what makes a lot of movies stand the test of time. One of my all-time favorite movies, The Big Lebowski. Okay.
Yeah.
The Coen Brothers. I mean, I'm an honorary Church of the Latter Saint dude. I have my diplomas in Dudeism, okay, and the comedic science and the art of being the dude. Like it's inspired a religion for a reason, because it gave this sense of realness that a lot of movies are truly missing. Like that's a movie I will watch religiously on the basic of the concept of it's a good ass flick, man.
It is, and it definitely has one of my favorite quotes in there, where Jeff Bridges is like, "My fucking undies, man!" Like it's great. Like a lot of great quotes from the film, and I mean, like I said, I enjoy older films because a lot of the things that you see back in the day, practical effects, whether if they're using animatronics for like horror films or whatever the case is, it seems more realistic than a lot of films nowadays that just use, computer graphic images, and there's some movies where like it looks pretty good, but at the same time you can kind of tell that, there's a lot of uh, uh, unauthentic or like, fakery going on, and there's no real heart into it.
Yeah, where they might have half-assed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I think like it's funny because I watched I watched The Ranch, and I know Sam Elliott, one of my favorite people, mostly because he does the Silverado truck commercials. You ever buy a Silverado? I'm like, yes, I have, and I'm going to buy 10 more because of your beautiful voice. I mentioned him to my cousin, and my cousin was like, yeah, that guy used to babysit me. I'm like,
wow,
what? And he starts walking away from me like it's something as simple as that. And I'm like, no, come the fuck back here. We're going to figure this out. Like you were babysitted by Sam Elliott. He's like, dude, he's just a normal person. I'm like, no, he's not. He's the stranger from The Big Lebowski.
Dude, and not only that, it's like fucking Tombstone too. Like he has this magnificent voice about him. Like
He had a
it's like
movie where he killed Bigfoot and killed Hitler. That's the title of the movie, The Guy That Hunted Bigfoot and Hitler. It's like, who the hell has that on their resume? You see that, you're immediately getting hired.
Thank you for that, Robbie. I have to add that to my wheel of shit on my podcast. So
you're going to see the picture of him in an army outfit holding a rifle, and it says the man that hunted Bigfoot and killed Hitler. It's like, whoa. The guy who made this movie was like, what's the most badass thing as possible? Oh, a dude that finds Bigfoot and a guy that kills Hitler. Let's roll with it. Who can we put to make this film actually really good? I'm thinking Sam Elliott. You got it. You know, they probably went to Morgan Freeman first, and he was like, I don't think that would be a film I'd be appropriate for. Unless it involves God, I'm not playing it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. Yeah, for sure.
Like,
That
it's
sounds great.
crazy because my cousin has lived a life of like riches and glory, and he talks about meeting all these famous people. He's like, yeah, I also met Ric Flair before. I was like, what? You met the man that has literally a sound? When I say Ric Flair, what's the first thing you think of?
Woo!
Exactly. He has literally a sound that people relate to just his name. And he goes,
Yep.
yeah, well, they're just people, Robbie. I'm like, no, they're not just people. But he comes from, he almost married into wealth. He ended up getting like kind of breaking off the engagement just on the concept of he didn't like her personality that much. But they were
Yeah.
spending $20,000 on a dinner. They were taking private jets everywhere, and seeing him come
Wow.
back to this impoverished lifestyle that like I live in, like, I mean, I live in this the average American lifestyle, working 9 to 5, working your ass off. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
him coming back from that, like I see stuff like the way like he immediately spends money. He spends like $40 on going out to lunch. I'm like, bro, do you know what it's like to shop the yellow stickered items at the store? And he's like, yeah, it's kind of been a hard transition. And I'm like, yeah, you're not getting babysitted by Sam Elliott anymore. He goes, buddy, honestly, it's not as cool as you think it was. He's 34. He's like 10 years older than me. And I'm like, look, man, it doesn't matter. I don't care how famous you get. If Sam Elliott fucking starts reading me a bedtime story to go to bed, I'm going to remember that moment and hold it very, very close to my heart.
Yes, I would too. And wow, I'm actually older than him. That's crazy.
You know what's crazy? So I want to get your idea on this movie. So there's a movie. It's one of my favorites. I didn't think they did it 100% right, but I enjoyed it because it's the only superhero movie they have for this guy.
Mhm.
And Ryan Reynolds even talks shit on it. It's the Green Lantern.
Oh yes, the Green Lantern. You know what? Honestly, I did watch the movie after I saw the first Deadpool movie, because like I remember after watching it, like he would kind of like not directly talk shit about it, but there was like a couple times where like he would say something along the lines of like, "Oh, am I going to be wearing a green CGI suit or something like that?" And so, out of curiosity, I actually went to go watch the Green Lantern film. I think on like I don't know, Netflix or Hulu or something like that. This was like a couple years ago. But I actually enjoyed the movie. Like I liked it. I mean, were there some flaws? Yeah. I mean, it did have like the typical CGI kind of stuff, but I mean, I've seen worse movies than this. It's
Exactly. And
like
people always like even he makes fun of it. And I go, look, the movie wasn't done as the justice it probably should have had, but there were good moments in it. And also, that's one of my favorite DC superheroes. And to him to finally
yeah,
get a movie, love it or hate it, I was going to watch it and I was going to like it because of the
yeah.
concept of they didn't have another movie for him. They didn't have another movie for that superhero. This was the first movie about that super character.
Yeah, that's like it was like the only like official live action film that I'm aware of. I mean, the only other thing you would see from like the Green Lantern besides obviously the comic books would be, like the cartoon series or like the Justice League cartoon series or something like that.
That's one of my favorite reasons for liking Green Lantern is from the guy that originally played Green Lantern in Justice League. Like seeing that and being growing up with those shows, like I that's why I try and tell people it's all open into interpretation. I've seen some crappy movies. I've seen some movies I can't get behind, but I realize I'm not their audience target. I'm not the
Yeah.
one that they're focusing on. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I just find it fascinating when, you look at a movie, some movie like it has shitty camera work, shitty all these things, but the acting in it is really, really good. Or maybe the acting is completely bad, but the movie style and the movie camera and the movie story is just so enriched to follow behind where you can actually truly enjoy it, no matter if it is a bad movie.
And then there are also some cases where even if the acting is super bad, but depending on the person themselves, if they unintentionally make you fucking laugh your ass off with their bad acting, that is the best. But unfortunately, that's like trying to win the lottery because there's only been like a handful of films where um bad acting actually would entertain you. Like, as an example, I don't know if you ever saw this film. Did you ever see a film which has two titles, which one is called Get Even, but because they didn't fucking space the movie out, or they spaced the letter out, it's together with Get Even, aka Road to Revenge. Have you ever heard of that movie?
I've never heard of this movie.
Okay, so this movie was written, starring, directed, and the music was composed by this lawyer by the name of John DeHart. And you could tell that this guy is very fucking passionate about this movie, which is he wanted to make this like action movie. Obviously, the acting is horrible in this film from every single person except for this one actor named Wings Hauser. He's like probably the most entertaining part of the film because he's literally fucking shit-faced throughout the whole entire film because he realized his career was going down the fucking shitter. But if you watch this film, the surprisingly ironic enough, the bad acting is what makes the film very entertaining, and I would recommend you should check that film out if you're able to find it.
I'll definitely have to put it on a watch list for sure. I think there's so many movies out there, and it really boggles my mind when it comes to advertising. The whole concept of sometimes a really good movie flies under the fucking radar without any
Yes.
advertisements. Usually it's an independent film. I think
Yeah.
like a lot of what, the popular ones are the people that already have giant names. As soon as you throw Michael Bay, as soon as you throw any type of name of that,
Jesus.
yeah, if you throw George Lucas on something, immediately it's like, we have to watch it. We have to get this out there. The film's already going to be the best movie ever. And it's like, there are some independent films that I find a lot better than the trash I see nowadays, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I
I
think
agree with that.
the Coen Brothers do a great job when it comes to making cult movies, when it comes to the aspect of they create a story. They recently did one on Netflix called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, okay. I got to check that one
Dude,
out.
if you're a Coen Brothers fan, you're going to love this. It's basically 6 movies in one, and it's all like 20-minute, like little, like different movie shorts, dude. But they're the most twistful, eventful Coen Brothers style movies you could ever think of, man. I mean, I- as being an adult and looking back at Quentin Tarantino's films, I wasn't very, I guess, at the age when Pulp Fiction came out. So I saw it later in my years. I saw Pulp Fiction. That was an amazing movie. Only on the concept of it, you saw a bunch of actors from the start, like before they became super, super, super big. But his whole concept was he created these long, drawn out movies that were like 3 to 4 hours fucking long. And you're like, good God. But it kept you on the edge of the seat the whole freaking time.
Shit.
And then you go and watch a movie like that, like Pulp Fiction, you pick up things that you didn't pick up the first time. It seems like they keep adding something that you didn't see before. A really good movie I can think of, not by Quentin Tarantino, but I Am Legend. Okay. I've seen that movie 15 times. And let me tell you something, each time it's like watching it over again. There's a point where I don't know if you ever seen I Am Legend.
Yeah, with Will Smith.
Yeah. Well, there's a
Yeah.
point at the ending where he grabs a grenade and he takes the pin out of it and he runs at the glass. But before he runs at the glass, all he has is a memory or kind of a flashback to his daughter saying, "Look at the butterfly, Daddy." After the 7th time of watching this film, I looked and saw where he got the idea for that. If you pay attention to the glass cracking when the zombie's running at the wall, basically bashing his head into it, you can see the cracks form the wings of a butterfly.
Right.
I saw that and picked that up after watching it so many times and completely glossing it over. That's when I say, like, when you're in a movie theater, it's with all the distractions that go on now. And this is one thing I want to get your opinion on.
Right.
Like nowadays, remember the day where it was silence your phone, turn off your cell phone, don't look at your phone when you're in the movies? You know what it is now?
It's everybody just doing the complete fucking opposite.
Dim your brightness is now what they use in the beginning of movies. I said, turn the phone off, bitch. I can see it. It's lighting up your face. Stop. Dimming your brightness and sending a Snapchat is not helping me pay attention to the movie anymore.
I did not know that. It goes to show what the fuck I know, because the last time I've been to a movie theater was maybe like 3-4 years ago. because I just got so tired. So
It's so much easier when you can just go on some site on the internet where you're not supposed to be doing. I'm not trying to incriminate myself, but if it's a movie's good, I'll go buy the DVD. But sadly, a lot of really good movies nowadays get played by Netflix.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Original movies, I mean, dude, they have some originals on there with Adam Sandler and stuff like this that make you actually see a creative story to it.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's just like we're gonna do another Star Wars. I'm like, why? Why? Don't ruin it. And I've talked to people that are hardcore Star Wars fans and they have kids. They started from like the very original movies and they just talk
Yes.
about like the only reason they really truly enjoyed it was because their kids are now being adaptive to it. They're listening to it and it's giving them the kind of like the inspiration to go look back at the older Star Wars flicks, the stuff that their parents grew up on and helps them connect to their kid in a way. That's where
Yeah.
I see the benefit. But when you have a crazy ass movie that is just nothing but explosions and comedic jokes every 5 seconds. It's like it's hard to follow behind, dude.
I'm assuming based on what you just said just now, are you referring to what is it, The Last Jedi or whatever it was, like that came out after the first what was it? I forgot the
Rogue
Star
One.
Wars after the episode 6 or whatever.
They make so many movies, it turns into Fast and Furious, dude. Like, how many times are we gonna have the same concept, just different cars? Like, my buddy's like, "Dude, we're gonna go see the new Fast and Furious." I'm like, "I've seen most of them with you in theaters, man. I don't wanna go see another one. I already bought your ticket, it's reserved." I'm like, "Well, you better find someone to go with, man, because I'm not watching Vin Diesel flex his muscles for 15 minutes and then show me a bunch of the same shit over and over again." And though I'll be mindlessly sitting there eating popcorn watching the movie anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of I Am Legend, because I did want to ask you, did you see the original I Am Legend?
I have not seen the original. I didn't even know there was an original.
Yes, there was an original one, but I mean, it wasn't called I Am Legend, but the original title was called The Omega Man, starring Charles Heston, which came out in 1971. This is where I Am Legend which I Am Legend was basically a remake of The Omega Man. But yeah, I would suggest you should check that one out too, just to like see which one you like better, because this was adapted from the Omega Man, because it's the same storyline. Differences is that the Will Smith character was originally played by Charlton Heston. So you should check that one out just to kind of see, like, since you loved I Am Legend, and it would be kind of interesting to see how you feel about the original one, like whether or not if you like the original one better or if you like the remake better.
I
So
think it's crazy because one movie I saw like when I was a kid that a lot of people give a lot of crap for is Idle of Hands. You ever seen this
oh
movie?
yeah, Idle Hands, yeah.
That movie had a great fucking story to it. I consider that a gem, but a lot of people give it a lot of crap just because of the time it was kind of placed out. It seemed like at this time, this is where people weren't really interested in dealing with demons and all these types of things. The movies that nowadays is all the concept of horror movies is jump scares, and they all base around demon possession.
Yeah, I didn't dislike Idle Hands at all. Actually, that was the first time when I had a crush on Jessica Alba when I first watched that
Dude,
movie.
it was one of my favorite movies when it came to the concept of they had a bunch of actors like Seth Green, all these people. Like
Yeah.
when you watch Goldmember when you're a
Jesus.
little kid and then you don't understand all the jokes and why your dad's laughing at all these things. And then you become an adult and you watch Goldmember and you
Yep.
realize when they're talking about Preparation H and all these wonderful, beautiful comedic things that totally glossed over my mind as a kid, it makes you enjoy the movie twice as much, man.
Just as a disclaimer, if I start stuttering, I apologize because I'm having my Mickey's 40 ounce. So there you go.
Go ahead. It's the best thing to enjoy a 40 in podcast, bro. Yeah. Well, like a lot of movies like Fast and Furious, when it came to Tokyo Drift, like a lot of people gave that one crap because it didn't
Yeah.
have anybody that was an iconic star at the time. Me, I enjoyed it because it was a Southern guy, like the story behind it. It was a country guy that was getting thrown into a whole new country
Right.
being in Japan and around all these people that he could not relate to, and then finding a way to break through the barrier of race and what all that story was. Another good movie, Bad Boys 2, man. You know, a lot of
Oh,
people
yes,
a lot
and
of people gave that movie a lot of crap.
I don't see why. I mean, I enjoyed the first and the second one. I think my wife even liked the second one better than the first one, and we're very fucking excited about the third one. Believe it or not, like the third one when we saw the trailer, we're like, "Oh my god, we're gonna watch it!" And all of our friends were like, "Why?" And we're like, "Dude, like, because the first and the second one were fucking badass. Like,
And
there was no other fucking movie like this, like back
people
in the day."
don't wanna
So
get behind Bad Boys 3 on the concept of it's not the same director, and they don't know how they're gonna do it justice, and
who
I'm
the fuck cares? As long as
he
Will
didn't
Smith and
care
Martin
about the
Lawrence are in
yeah,
it, so who gives a
he
shit?
didn't care about the I mean, he didn't care about the director when the movie came out, he cared about Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, man.
Exactly. There you go.
That's what I'm saying when an actor makes a film, dude. Because like Christian
Exactly.
Bale, his weight transformations to play his roles, like,
Mhm.
oh my god, from him playing the machinist where he's at like Holocaust survivor level, and then playing Dick Cheney, like literally throwing his body through hell just to get himself to
Sh
look in these roles.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Dick Cheney one, but The Machinist, wow, like, I mean, fucking Christian Bale, man. I mean, like I said, he is a super hardcore fucking method actor, because even when he was doing, playing as John Connor in, Terminator Salvation, like, when he got pissed off at this, effects guy, like, or the lighting guy, like, my favorite part after they leaked that whole fucking audio of him just screaming his fucking lungs out at the guy. Like, he's Christian Bale's British, so because he's such a method actor, he still had an American accent where he would just yell at the guy. It's like, "Oh, God for you!" It's like, "What don't you fucking understand?" So it's great. Like, I enjoy Christian Bale as an actor, especially when he gets into the character. Although I have to say, when he plays as Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, it felt like he was getting a little bit too comfortable in that role, which I don't know if he actually is a psycho, but I felt like he was getting very comfortable in that
People
role.
gave him a lot of shit because he flipped out on some guy that was supposed to make the table for like all the snacks and the concession tables during like the rehearsals and stuff what they do on set. He was
Uh-huh.
screaming at this guy, "You're a freaking idiot," and started going off. And I'm like, if you understand it from his perspective, he literally goes all out to perform and be the best he possibly can in what he does,
Yeah.
being an actor. So he gets upset when someone can't even set something out correctly or make something happen. And
And
people chalked him up to being an asshole. I was like, no, he just cares about what he's working on.
he cares about his art and craft, and I understand that completely, because when I used to be an actor, I actually did pursue and used a lot of method acting. I mean, I wasn't in any films or anything like that, but when I studied a lot of acting in college and high school, like, I used the method acting because I wanted to really dive into the character of whatever I was playing, whether if it was like a live show or whatever the case was. So I can understand that you put so much work and effort, and sometimes you don't sleep, or you put so much effort into the craft of trying to portray this character that you're being assigned to pretend to be, and to have somebody just really fucking distract you like that really puts a damper on your craft. So I can understand that, but at the same time I can also understand why people might think he's a fucking dickhead, because they just simply don't understand. And unless if you happen to have been a part of that, unless if you have been a part of that world of being an actor and such, then you're never going to understand. So I can understand both sides of that,
I
but
think it's
yeah.
fascinating when I hear something like you watch The Shining with Jack Nicholson and you hear
Oh
that one
yes.
part I think had put everybody in a scared moment where he goes, little pig, let me in." Like that moment, you're like, I fucking think he's an actual psychopath. Like, oh my God. Like, if we're gonna vote anybody, Robin Williams said it best. If you're gonna vote anybody to be the president of the United States, you need to vote Jack Nicholson because he has done every
Yes.
drug and he has fucked literally everybody.
Yes, when the fuck is he gonna run for fucking president? That's all I gotta ask.
There's
But
nothing you can incriminate him. All his stuff's out on the open.
oh yeah, I mean that's one of the things I fucking respect about Jack Nicholson is that he's very blunt. Although technically Donald Trump is kind of fucking blunt, but at the same time, but not in a charismatic way like Jack Nicholson is. But my favorite part in The Shining is when him and Shelley Duvall are like, after he's like, I guess they're going up the stairs and like Shelley Duvall is like being like, no, get away. He's like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Did you hear what I said, honey? Darling, love of my life, I said I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm just gonna bash them right the fuck in. That is my ultimate fucking favorite part of that film.
That's when an actor can literally show like it's intense fear and create something without special effects. Like when they truly like make it seem like they're an actual psycho killer to the point where you're questioning if they are or not. You start looking up their criminal records. What has this person done in their life? What got you to this point, sir?
Yeah, I you can actually tell an actor's talent when it comes to the most difficult situations. One, when they have to really portray this character that they're given, which is basically just words fucking typed down on a piece of paper. And two, if they have to do a scene only by themselves with no other actors. Like, for example, I forgot what the name of the movie was called, but there was a movie where Sam Rockwell played as like an astronaut in outer space. And he finds out in the end that he's basically a clone. So every time he gets killed, another one pops out. So, and the entire film, it's just only him. Technically, there's another actor, but they're physically not there because it's like, ADR voiceover. But it's only that actor, Sam Rockwell, by himself. So in those situations, when an actor is only by themselves and they have to act, but not with any other actor or not really any sort of specific surroundings, that is like the most difficult thing. And when an actor can pull that off, which another movie, as an example, when Michael Keaton was in the movie Multiplicity, that's another example because he had to basically act with himself, so which actually they weren't there. So that is the most hardest things that you can fucking go through. But yeah, so once you get the hang of that, you're fucking set for life.
Yeah, I find it like there's one movie that I saw and I really didn't like, mostly because I think it was the weirdest concept for a movie. It was called
Mhm.
Zombie Strippers.
Well, yeah, was that the one with Robert Englund in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason why I watched it was because of Robert Englund, because I love Freddy Krueger, obviously. But yeah, it is a shitty movie. But when I watched it, I tried to find whether if like if they're like a shit movie or a high budgeted film, whatever the case is. I try to find good things or positive things about it. But in this case, yeah, I wasn't able to find anything good about it. It was just fucking
It was the
horrible.
weirdest thing. You're watching it like this is like I don't know why I would thought to even click on this Zombie Strippers. This is kind of
Robert Englund,
disgusting.
right? Freddy Krueger.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you that you're watching it. You're like, good God, man. Like the concept, zombie strippers. What type of person would even dive into that? Like, who would think that would be attractive in the first place?
Well, two types of people. One where there's guys that want to just see a bunch of tits and strippers, or two, people that are big fans of Robert Englund because of Freddy Krueger.
Or necrophiliacs. I mean, if you think about it, you're looking at tits, but they're dead tits.
Have you ever fucked a dead body?
No, and have you ever heard Sam Kinison's bit on that?
No, I haven't.
Do you know who Sam Kinison is?
No, I know who Sam Kinison is.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a bit about dead necrophiliac, these people that were raping these bodies. And he goes, you hear that? Imagine being dead and being a spirit in heaven. Then you just feel like someone's banging you in the ass. He goes, that's right. Life keeps fucking you in the ass long after you're dead. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no, I think you and I are supposed to be enemies because I'm more of an Andrew Dice Clay fan.
Oh, dude, everybody loves Andrew Dice Clay, man. Come on. Little Miss Tuffet sat on a buffet with her bowl of clay. And I said, hey, what's in the bowl, bitch? Like,
hey, Jackie Jill went up the fucking hell. Jill came back down with $1.25, $2.50. Oh, my fucking banana juice. Oh,
yeah, like those concepts, those are real comedians, but sadly they wouldn't be able to do that type of style nowadays. Too many people would get offended. We're living.
Well, there is one person that did that recently,
Dave
and it
Chappelle.
was still
He attacked
Sticks and Stones. I fucking watched that one.
I've seen it 15 times. Let me tell you something. It's good every single time. The first thing I did when I watched that, I texted comedians, I texted people of different ethnicities, and I texted a couple transgender people, and they all gave me the same answer. It was awesome. On the concept of he was highlighting the dumbest aspects as people that we choose to run with just because we become too sensitized.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, whether if it's like my podcast or whatever the case is, like I make fun of a lot of things. But the thing is that I even make fun of myself. So it's like if we shouldn't be taking ourselves too seriously. We're all just people, and if you're not able to make fun of yourself, then what's the point? You should have that sense of humor where it's like, there shouldn't be any sort of limits or limitations or any sort of censorship of like what you can or can't say. If it's in jest, then great. But of course, if obviously if it's in hate, then of course it's not okay. But even if it is in hate, the person should still have the right to be able to say, what they want to say. I mean, that's the whole point of living in this fucking country, is to be able to say what you want, I mean, that's the whole point of the reason why we fucking fought the British, in 1776. So.
Yeah, I think it's weird when on the concept of what we hold so freaking close to hitting us, like attack on us as people. I think we've become way too defensive as a society when we don't understand to highlight the true aspect of what it means to be a joke and what it means to be actually hurtful intent. A lot of people hear everything as an attack on them, and it makes the world a little bit too hard for people to deal into today. Like nowadays, you just want to stay at home and watch movies all the time on the concept of it's just too hard to associate with all these people looking for something just to complain about.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. It's gotten so bad to a point where whenever I go to 7-Eleven to get my Mickey's 40 ounce or whatever the case is, I remember one time I went in and there was like this homeless dude that came up to me and was like, hey man, you got some spare change that I could have? And I'll be like, oh, well, I only have a card, but let me see what I could get you. And so I go and I do cash out and I give him like $3. Like, man, I said to get me a motherfucking sandwich and a Diet Coke. And I'm like, you didn't tell me that. He's like, well, that's what I wanted. I'm like, really? You're going to be so fucking picky about this kind of shit and complain about the fact that I didn't get you a fucking sandwich, but instead I gave you $2 or $3 fucking dollars in cash? Like, it's gotten so bad to a point where like homeless people are fucking like, bitching about like, that they're only getting $3 or they're not, they're getting a fucking ham sandwich, or they're like, hey, is this sandwich organic? I don't know. Well, like, fuck that sandwich then, and fuck you. And
it's
then
like
they just
going
walk away.
to a restaurant with my buddy who's vegan. He asks so many damn questions. I'm like, why did we do this? Why? Like, I understand, man, but like, it's hard for him because he's like, was this cooked near any meat? Was this cooked near any of this? Like, does this have any of this in it? It does.
Yeah, I can't have dairy. I can't have eggs. I can't have. Yeah, I understand completely because my wife and we used to be vegans until my wife talked to her physician and or no, I'm sorry, nutritionist, and she said, well, actually being vegan for you is not good
It's
because you
not
have
for
these.
everyone. You think you're doing the better option by saving
Yeah.
animals, and it's not true. My buddy who's vegan goes, I honestly hate the people that feed their cats nothing but a vegan diet. I'm like, excuse me? So I heard it from a Joe Rogan podcast. Do you know what the hashtag vegan cat is?
um I have no
Well,
idea.
I'm going to teach you a little something.
Sure, great. I
Cats
like to learn things.
Cats are carnivores, okay? They're the
Of course.
only animal that needs meat that cannot survive off nothing but a vegan diet. So there's these vegans that feed their cat nothing but a vegan diet that the cats end up dying at the age of 3 or 4 years old. They don't live past that. And these people are fine with that on the concept of they're not feeding their cat meat because meat is murder. Your cat is literally starving. Its eye is turning white like Bill Cosby. It's fucking dying because it has not getting the proper nutrients it needs. You can feed a dog nothing but vegan food, and a dog can survive off that, but not cats because cats come from an ancestor of lions and carnivores. They're known to be ferocious animals. Dogs
I
come
don't remember cats putting drugs in girls' drinks. I don't know why you compare cats to Bill Cosby.
Have you not seen Bill Cosby's eye?
Oh, his eye.
His
My
eye
bad.
becomes white and wonky. I said the cat has a Bill Cosby wonky eye.
I'm gonna have a cat food with yellow pudding.
Bill Cosby probably eats cat food at one point in his life, but literally with his eye becoming white, it's a cataract. So these cats, like not getting the proper nutrition, they start to
Right.
get at the age of 3 or 4. They age like 15 years, only on
Of
the
course, yeah.
concept of their bodies literally shutting down. And these people are comfortable, like, I'm gonna miss you, kitty. It's been a good 3 years. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, your cat, if you just fed it some normal food, if you gave it a dead bird or something, it would be fine. Just do it. They're like, no, yeah, my cat's not going to be a murderer. And I tell my buddy about that, and he goes, they give vegans a bad name. Because let me tell you something, I enjoy, I don't try and change people. And I'm like,
Right.
that's the way you have to do it. But sadly, nowadays, when it comes to veganism, when it comes to people's opinion, they need to always voice it and try and control somebody else's life with it.
Yeah, it's based on what you're telling me, like with vegans not giving their cats any sort of meat, but because obviously a cat is not a fucking herbivore, it's a carnivore. But it's sort of like when people put their dogs in dog shows, like the dogs and the cats. They don't give a shit on whether or not if they fucking win. It's mainly the owners that like go, oh well, it's just mainly just the vanity of the fucking owners. Like they are the ones that want their dogs to win, and they want their dogs to like be winners and get trophies and shit like that. Like it's the same thing with like the people that feed their cats, I don't know, like vegetables or whatever the fuck it is, or anything that has nothing to do with like cheese or eggs or whatever the fuck it is. Like they just want to be able to just because they're in a sense subconsciously they're being selfish because they think of the cat as a reflection of themselves. We're like, well, this is my baby, so whatever I do, I want my baby to do the same thing that I'm doing. So if I'm vegan, I want my cat to be vegan too. I don't give a shit if it fucking kills it. It's for my own selfish reasons. And it's the same thing when people put their dogs make their dogs suffer in dog shows. Like it has nothing to do. Like there was even a documentary where people would put their dogs in dog shows. Like they literally think that when they put their dogs in dog shows, their dogs think like, oh yes, I'm training really hard to be a winner. When really like dogs just think like, oh, I just want to run around and fucking bark and play all day. That's all I really give a shit about. Because what dog gives a shit about whether or not if they get fucking a trophy or a fucking first prize, first place ribbon? None.
And it's
None
crazy
whatsoever.
because it comes to the concept. We don't just do it with animals. We do it with people. We try, like
Mm-hmm.
parents try and invest themselves into their kids. Like, I made
Yep.
these mistakes. I want this to happen for you. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from mistakes. I'm going to make them, and I have to make them on my own. You can give me advice,
Yeah.
but when it comes down to it, I'm the only one that can truly controls my life. And it's like we invest so much time of ourselves into people thinking that we're going to change them and give them a better route, which does help out at times. But
Yeah.
trying to invest like every little thing, like them getting fame and then you piggybacking it, like, I gave you this fame, I gave you this. It's like, no, you made mistakes in your life and now you're paying for the price from them. If you choose to go crazy and give up on education and not be happy with working 2 jobs the rest of your life or not
Yeah.
making anything for yourself, then that's your problem, the things you have to deal with. Don't project that out onto somebody else and try and invest your time into them, because you're only lacking the most biggest problem in your life. And that's the fact that you might not be sufficient with where you're at in your own self, and you need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
We choose to compare, we choose to walk around wearing a mask and hiding this fake, hiding behind something fake, because we're truly
Right.
afraid to be the real person that we're truly meant to become, because we're scared of breaking out of the comfort zone.
Right.
I,
No,
I
I agree.
It's
I
too
agree.
much. It's too much stuff. This is why we're worried about traveling interdimensional space. How about we just get a good movie nowadays? Like, come on. How hard is it to think of an original concept? Let's get a bunch of guys in one room just shooting the shit on some ideas, okay? Family Guy
Right.
literally gets created. Each episode is like 15 comedians just sitting in a conference room, all shooting the shit, random ideas, and they go off of each other. It's not that hard to invest that much time instead of throwing back something that probably should not be thrown back.
I thought it was a bunch of like walruses that would grab balls and put them through like a loop, and then they would come up with concepts like that.
I
I'm just
don't know.
kidding.
I don't know what drugs you're experiencing, good sir. Maybe it's that 40, but let me tell you something. Bill Cosby didn't slip anything in there, I hope.
No, I was referencing a South Park episode, but but anyway,
That's one show I could never really pay attention to. I
well, no,
didn't I
I
didn't
can understand
enjoy it
that.
that much, only on the concept of I was young when I was first introduced to it, and it
Right.
was like, "What the hell's happening?" It was the movie. It was the one with, Saddam Hussein and all that stuff. So that was very graphic for a little kid to watch as their first, South Park.
Oh, so you were traumatized by that.
I was like,
So,
what is they doing with that stick? Oh my god." And they shut yeah,
um,
they did some things on there. Like, I enjoyed Little Nicky, I really did. That was a movie a lot of people don't look at a lot.
it's well, Little Nicky is one of those movies where if you watch it one time, it's great. But the more you watch it, you realize, wow, the more times you watch Little Nicky, the dumber it gets, and then you start hating the movie the more times you watch it.
Little Nicky's
I
the reason why if I choose a chicken joint, a fast food chicken joint, it's gonna be Popeyes. Popeyes chicken is fucking awesome.
I'm from the deep south.
Like I deep shot. And he starts I love that shit, dude, because there's so much like movies like that. Like, you ever seen Wayne's World? They do that
Yeah.
advertisement. We don't like to conform to any sponsors because we're no sellouts. And as he does it, he lifts open a pizza box and it says Pizza Hut on the front cover, shown right into the camera. And
I
he
can't
pulls
do
out
this anymore. I'm having a headache.
and
Here,
then it
take
take
2 of these.
yeah, that was the shit where I was like, that was good.
Yeah.
That was some obvious advertisement. They did that in a good way. Not like some random things like he's driving a Ford, and then all you hear is Sam Elliott go, "Yeah, Fords are okay, but let me tell you about the Silverado." You're like, oh, okay, what's
Honestly,
happening?
I don't care. Like Sam Elliott can do anything and it would sound great. Like he's like, you ever got tired of fucking real pussy? Why don't you try pocket pussy? It's gonna be good. Like just the voice itself, like he could say any kind of fucking shit.
Dude,
Like he could even say
say
something offensive and I would fucking love it.
that's when I say Netflix did it right when they had him incorporated onto the ranch, man. That show is awesome. And the only reason it stopped was because Danny Masterson and his workings in Scientology. There was some things that they were bringing up in Scientology that they couldn't get behind, and that's why they killed him off in the show. And actually, there's a new season
Oh.
their new season comes out in a couple of days. I'm excited for it on the concept of like I think that it's going to be good. Like when they introduce Dax Shepard, they do a good job of trying to recover from it. I mean, it's really, really strange to think that the whole concept of them having an argument and having to lose Danny Masterson was over some fake Scientology, but you know.
I thought it would have been because Ashton Kutcher was saying, "You just got punked."
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the beginnings, like Ashton Kutcher found a better show with The Ranch, only on the concept of he tried to take after what happened when they kicked off Charlie Sheen of 2.5 Men. Like that was a
Oh yeah.
spot you couldn't have filled, and it didn't last that long. But I definitely think he's doing a lot better in The Ranch. I think when it comes to a show, when you lose an actor halfway through, if they're like ones that are kind of the main influences in the show, like Charlie Sheen in 2.5 Men, it's really
Right.
hard to keep the show going without that guy because it does
Yeah.
fall on the basis of that. Like an easy show that they replaced the mom actually a couple times. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, man. You know,
Oh yeah.
the mother, she went from completely dark as hell skin to a completely light shade of mixed. And nobody questioned it. Everyone just noticed it, but they just completely glossed over it. Roseanne, they replaced the daughter halfway through, and they made subtle jokes about her looking different. Like
Yeah.
it's all about there's those people that let the fame get too much to their head where they end up losing a role. And it's like you got to understand you weren't the main influence for the show. But you can't lose Roseanne Barr and then expect the show Roseanne to keep on going.
Well, that's why they decided to call the show The Connors because, obviously it's not Roseanne's not in the Connors show because her character died because she decided to compare somebody to an ape.
Yeah,
Like,
and they took it out of context too, really, because she wasn't talking about the racist aspect. She was talking about how savage the woman was being. Like you're being like an ape. It's the same concept. Like you see, we live in a cultured world. We live very, very sheltered lives. Joe Rogan has this
right,
bit. If I was going to turn off all electronics, you know what you would do? You would sit there and wait for someone to turn it back on. Well, how long are you going to sit there until you realize nobody's turning the lights back on? You got to start
right.
fighting for yourself. There's going to be stuff you're going to start realizing. Like if I try and drop you in the middle of the woods with a hatchet, how long until you send me a fucking email?
Right.
It's not happening. It's going to take you forever because now we live too much of a sheltered lifestyle. Technology has made it way too damn easy. It's made it beneficial in a way me and you can talk. But when it comes to connectivity with people, like it just seems like everybody's happy just sending a Snapchat or sending a text rather than having a conversation anymore. I mean, I go out to a restaurant, I go out to a movie. First thing, everybody's on their cell phone, not paying attention to what's going on around them. And they're losing moments, man. My little cousin's getting nostalgia from looking at his phone nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. I would normally say like, oh, you're going to a movie and you're on your fucking phone. What's the point? But I mean, hey, if they want to fucking waste their money, then whatever. Go ahead, waste your fucking money like an idiot that you are.
This is why
Go fuck
comedians
yourselves.
this is why comedians come out and make sure you lock your phone before you go in there. And then you saw it in Dave Chappelle's special. Someone answered their phone in the middle of his bit. And he goes, "Go ahead, answer your phone." And it was like he snuck that in there. And then something happened. Exactly what he didn't think was going to happen happened. The phone went off. Okay. The sad thing is we can't even shut down our phones for not even like 30 minutes just to be able to talk or be able to go into a grocery store. I leave my phone in the car when I go places because I don't like having that attached, mostly because it doesn't fit in my fucking pocket anymore. But
Yeah.
the whole concept is you're going to get groceries at the store. That 20-minute grocery trip turns into 2 hours when you're just staring at your phone half the time, not paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, that's why I use the app Instacart because I get groceries delivered to me now because I can't stand that shit.
Yeah, my cousin also Uber Eats and does these types of things back in the day. I was restricted to a takeout menu of this is Domino's Pizza. I'm like, what do you have? Well, we sell fucking pizza. It's like, okay, well, what else do you have? What are you looking for? Like, can I get a McDonald's cheeseburger? No, you're getting a pizza. We have what's on the menu. We don't sell cheeseburgers.
Well, they
Now,
do have chicken wings.
okay, they have all right there. Yeah. But when it comes to like my cousin goes, hold on, I'm going to Uber Eats real quick. And he's just a little kid. Okay. I'm talking about a different cousin than the one that met Sam Elliott.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, he's sitting there Uber eating at 8 years old. He goes, gets food from a Chinese place, then goes and gets a soda from a Food Lion. Then he goes and gets a thing from McDonald's, and then it comes to the door. I'm like, what the hell? What the actual hell? Like, seriously, this guy just go and get all this. And now the fact, like, he got caught in the rain the other day on his bike, and you know what he said to me?
What did he say to you?
Thank God I Ubered home and the guy could fit my bike in his car. You didn't ride in the rain? No, man. Why would I ride in the rain? Oh, I was hit. I was hit hard. I felt like someone sunk my fucking battleship. I took a hit. I crumbled to my knees. I said, man, you don't know what it's like to basically ride as fast as you possibly can to get home and beat a thunderstorm. Those were moments as a kid that, like, people nowadays, they're not going to experience anymore, man.
They will never experience rated R.
Good God. I want to know the guy that does the movie intros and all these things. Like, that one dude gets paid for fucking everything. In a world where there's slightly less rain and a lot of water.
In a world where there's likely less rain in the world, Robbie Robertson stars in Out of the Blanket, rated R.
I thought you said Out of the Blanket. That would be a good
No, I said Out of the Blank.
It's funny because, like, you ever seen Tropic Thunder, the only last movie that you'll ever be able to play blackface in?
Yes, I have, and my co-host fucking hates that movie.
Dude, the beginning of that movie is awesome. It's what is it? What's his name? God, who does Ben Stiller play? Forgot his name.
I forgot his name, but yeah, I obviously know who you're talking about.
With the fire movie, like Scorcher 1, Scorcher 2, Scorcher 3.
I think all the way up to 6, where it's like the opposite. Instead of heat, it's like cold, and he's got like
Who left the fridge open. I love that, dude. That guy needs to, like, if I had a voice like that, I would narrate my whole life like that. Like,
yeah, you'd be surprised on how many people want me to fucking like say their shit in that fucking voice. It's pretty crazy.
I have a pretty good Christopher Walken impression, and my mom,
go for it. I want to hear it.
My mom tells me sometimes, she's like, you got to stop. I'm like, why? She goes, because I fall into it and I can't get out of it, to the point where I'm narrating my whole life as Christopher Walken. I'd be like, you talk with these words, you don't know what to say. Anything you do is just a random act of violence onto me as a person. And she's like, what the fuck are you saying? And I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't. I'll be walking, like, about to brush my teeth. I don't know what to do afterwards. I got the toothpaste on my toothbrush. And she's like, can you stop? It was funny the first 30 minutes, but it's been 4 hours. And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, if only I knew how.
I like to put peanut butter on my balls so that way my dog can lick it off.
Christopher Walken doesn't say that because he's mystical, okay? He's all about questioning the questionable.
Well, in my fucking world, he does go!
And it ends it with an Andrew Dice Clay, man. This is the best part, is being able to relax and just shoot the shit and have a conversation.
Yeah, I fucking enjoy it. So.
Hey, I want to give you a minute here at the end to be able to promote your podcast and where people can find your awesome content, man.
Sure. Well, you can find our podcast, whatever podcast player or app that you're using. You can find us on there. Just type in Bad Rad Movies, and of course, you have to know how to spell. You have to know the English language, and you have to know what letters are. You can also, I would recommend using the app Podcoin, because if you're going to be listening to podcasts, why not get some currency to redeem them for Amazon gift cards?
Because gift cards are a load of horse shit, and Amazon's controlling the market. You should not be able to send a 2-day shipping thing. If I order something off Amazon, it's at my doorstep a minute later. It scares the crap out of me.
So you would rather listen to podcasts for nothing than like get like some kind of thing to redeem them for Amazon gift cards?
Yes, because I've been tricked by emails saying I want a sweepstakes of $500, and I've been had to answer a bunch of surveys now where I get mindless emails constantly, even though I keep sending the word stop to stop giving me these things. It's like when a company or a business that you're buying a
Right.
shirt, they go, "What's your email address?" "Why do I need to give you my email address?" "Oh, we're not going to send you anything." "Then why do you need my email address?"
Yeah, then just don't give them your email address. Just tell them to go fuck themselves.
And then you say that, and they go, "Well, I need to type one in the system." Well, I'm like, guess I'm not buying the shirt then.
Exactly. There you go. You got to figure it out.
That's true. I guess I never really thought of it that way. I got the world figured out, I guess.
And then yeah, you could just check us out on any podcast player or whatever the case is. And yeah, if you guys have any like movie recommendations, feel free to email us at badredmovies@gmail.com. And yeah, that's about it.
Let's hear a review on the Green Lantern, please.
If I have to give this a movie out of a 10, I definitely would have to give this a rad bad rating. I enjoyed the movie, especially because I really like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's very comedic, which I am planning on doing a movie, which it's his very first movie role. Which I don't want to give it away too much, but let's just say I will give you a hint though. It has to do with something that's related to Frankenstein's monster, which was his very first role.
Ooh. Another one that
and
gets tossed under the carpet is Voices. You ever seen Voices?
no, oh yeah, where he basically he thinks he's talking to his cat and dog, right?
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Surprisingly. But yeah, Green Lantern, I would give that one like maybe like a 7.8 out
That's
of 10.
because I was going to say a 7, so I think we both agree on that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed Green Lantern. I mean, I've seen worse movies than this one. I mean, I definitely enjoyed Green Lantern way better than the movie Bong of the Dead, which I recommend you should check out Bong of the Dead because I would like to get people's opinions on Bong of the Dead.
Mostly it involves Chong from Cheech and Chong, so you damn right I'm going to watch that movie, and I'll let you know what I think.
Unfortunately, no. Chong is not in that one. I think you're thinking about Evil Bong.
Oh, Evil Bong's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Chong was really good in that one, but no, this movie, Bong of the Dead, I don't know. I have a feeling you might not like it, but I could be wrong. You might enjoy it.
I might surprise you.
Yeah.
Just like opening up a fortune cookie and seeing that fortune inside, and it says, "I'm stuck in a fortune cookie making factory, send help." It surprises you.